Welcome, everyone. This is the National Girls Collaborative Project National Webinar, Resources for After-School Programs using the IFTHEN Collection for Programming. We're happy to have you here with us today. Thank you to those who took a moment as you were joining to respond to the poll on your screen and to introduce yourselves in the chat. It's great to see folks from all across the country, from Chicago, Seattle, Missouri, Cincinnati, Ohio, Orlando, Detroit. So thank you. It's great to have you here with us. And we also have a terrific just cross-section of different folks joining us today, from librarians to Science Center and Planetarium staff to community programs managers and professors and university staff, and to some folks who selected other that are letting us know over here in the chat about what role you're in. So I'm going to go ahead and end the poll and get us started in our content today. If we can go to the first slide. Thank you. So I will start us off by sharing a little bit about the National Girls Collaborative Project. My name is Marissa Garcia. I am a senior program developer with the National Girls Collaborative Project. And the vision of the National Girls Collaborative Project is to support and create science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEM, experiences that are as diverse as the world we live in. To do this, NGCP connects, creates, and collaborates with a network of advocates to promote equity and transform STEM for girls and all youth. NGCP exists because today's STEM experiences continue to lack diversity. Many young people do not identify with the field. To create change, our work empowers providers, educators, leaders, and youth themselves. Next slide, please. Jessica, can we go to the next slide? Thank you. Oh. Am I frozen?
You're not frozen, but we see the next slide.
Okay, thank you. It is not.
If you don't.
Yeah, it is not changing on my end, so I'm going to just keep going, and I'll trust that Jessica is proceeding. Thank you, Brenda. So NGCP believes STEM skills can be acquired by anyone and fostered in everyone. Our initiatives build confidence and create a community of lifelong STEM activators. Through the power of collaboration, we spark curiosity and develop a passion for STEM. We share resources and solutions with a coalition of leaders, and via our website, newsletters, online databases, social media, and webinars like this one. NGCP also strengthens the capacity of programs by producing and sharing exemplary practices, research, and program models. When programs are stronger and more sustainable, girls and youth are better served. We distribute these resources in an accessible formats, such as train-the-trainer programs, partnerships, and online platforms. And finally, we leverage our network of girl-serving STEM programs, advocates, and youth so that together we can create the tipping point for gender equity in STEM. We'll go to the next slide. The National Girls Collaborative Project engages in many activities virtually and nationally, as well as through local collaboratives. NGCP partners with organizations to scale and deliver content such as Leap Into Science National Network in partnership with the Franklin Institute, and the Million Girls Moonshot in partnership with STEM Next and the Mott Afterschool State Networks. Partnerships like these serve hundreds of educators via large local networks. NGCP is working with Lyda Hill Philanthropies and has launched the IFTHEN Collection, a digital library housing photos, videos, and other media of women in STEM fields. These media are available at no cost, and you'll learn more about the IFTHEN Collection and the resources specifically designed for after school today. NGCP also hosts the Girls Advisory Board. The Girls Advisory Board helps to review and provide feedback on current National Girls Collaborative Project initiatives and assists in informing the future direction of the NGCP. NGCP manages the Connectory, the largest national database of STEM opportunities. The Connectory also provides a way for program providers to connect and collaborate with each other. FabFems is an international database of female role models from many STEM fields. They are passionate about the work that they do and are ready to connect with programs to spark girls' interests. We also offer regular webinars such as this one focused on research, exemplary practices, and high-quality resources to help our network grow and thrive. Next slide, please. Locally, state collaborative leadership teams offer convenings, providing professional development, mini grants for innovation projects when funding is available, and also distribute their own regular newsletters spotlighting local resources. The National Girls Collaborative Project has been partially funded by the National Science Foundation since 2002. We began as the Northwest Girls Collaborative Project, focused on Washington and Oregon, and then as we presented our collaboration model to others, we were invited to expand across the United States. While NGCP programs and partners are located in every state, we have 33 collaboratives serving 41 states, facilitating collaboration between 42,500 organizations who serve 20.2 million girls and 10 million boys as well. And with that, it is my pleasure to turn it over to Jessica Hay, my colleague. Jessica is the Marketing and Partnerships Manager at the National Girls Collaborative Project. Jessica joined the NGCP in January and leads outreach efforts for the IFTHEN Collection, bringing many years of experience with after-school networks and nonprofit advocacy and initiatives. So Jessica, I'll let you take it away.
Thank you so much, Marissa. It's so great to be with everyone again and doing our third IFTHEN Collection related webinar. So this is number 3 in our series. I'm going to give just a quick overview of what to expect for our webinar today. So we're going to do an overview of the IFTHEN Collection, and then we're going to hear from some folks about these brand new, first time ever seeing them, IFTHEN activities, and get a background about what the activities are and kind of where the process came from. We'll do an introduction and overview of these activities, and then we're actually going to demonstrate some of them. So we're actually going to see some of them in action. And then we'll do a quick tour of the Million Girls Moonshot portal that is designed specifically for IFTHEN resources and after school programs. And then after that, we'll kind of do a little wrap up, and there will be time in here for questions. So if you have questions as we go, pop them in the chat. We'll take note of them, and we'll have some time afterwards to answer those questions. So the IFTHEN initiative is a national effort sponsored by Lyda Hill Philanthropies to inspire young girls to pursue STEM careers while creating a culture shift in how the world perceives women in STEM. IFTHEN seeks to further advance women in STEM by empowering current innovators and inspiring the next generation of pioneers. So the IFTHEN Collection is actually the largest free resource of its kind that's dedicated to increasing access to authentic and relatable images of real women in STEM. So in this digital library, you're going to find thousands of photos and videos and other assets that authentically represent women in STEM. The content features careers as diverse as shark tagging, fashion design, training Olympic athletes, and really nudges public perceptions in a more realistic direction that illuminates the importance of STEM everywhere. IFTHEN is really proud to recognize these 125 talented women STEM professionals across a variety of industries as AAAS IFTHEN ambassadors who serve as high-profile role models for the IFTHEN Collection. They are featured throughout the collection. You can see some of them here, and you're actually going to get to see a video of one of them when we do our demonstration of the activities. So it's very exciting. These are incredible women. They've gone through training and they're ready to be role models and support girls across the country to pursue STEM. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to 2 incredible women that I get to work with. So we've got, joining us today, we've got Lisa Regalla, PhD, and is the CEO of Regallium, which is the best name, Consulting LLC, and works with organizations to foster creative, accessible, and STEM-inspired learning environments for children and families. Most recently, Lisa has been consulting with the National Girls Collaborative to create engaging activities for after-school leaders that are linked to these IFTHEN collection videos. Previously, she was the director of STEM learning and innovation at the Bay Area Discovery Museum, where she created the Reimagining School Readiness Toolkit and the Try It Truck, inspiring young children to embrace early engineering. She was also the former deputy director of Maker Ed and developed the content and a national outreach program for the Sci Girls Children's television series at Twin Cities Public Television. Lisa received a BS in chemistry and a BA in theater before earning her PhD in chemistry. In 2011, she received a Daytime Emmy Award for her work on Sci Girls and the Rising Star Award for the Women Chemists Committee of the American Chemical Society for her work to promote gender equity in STEM. We also have joining us Brenda Britch, who is a senior research scientist with the National Girls Collaborative Project. She believes in the potential of she believes in the potential of research to transform practice and works to make research accessible to a broad audience of educators and other professionals invested in equity in STEM. Brenda has served as co-principal investigator for multiple NSF-funded projects focused on equity in STEM and is the co-author of the publication Sci Girls Strategies: How to Engage Girls in STEM. This is so exciting. I'm so happy that both of you can join us today. And I'm just going to pass it right over to you. And again, folks, remember, put your questions in the chat box and we can definitely get to those in just a little bit.
Thank you, Jessica. And thank you everyone for being here. Lisa and I are very excited to share these activities with you. And I'm going to turn it over to Lisa soon to walk us through the activities. She's really the lead developer of them. But I'm just going to provide a little background before we do that about the process of developing the activities and why we're here today. So our goal really with these activities was to develop activities for youth serving programs that leveraged some of the amazing assets in the IFTHEN collection. So as Jessica just mentioned, this collection is very robust. It's very big. It has a tremendous amount of great resources for girls and young women in STEM. And we wanted to create some activities that used some of those resources. And we also wanted the activities to align with components of our equity and inclusion framework. So this is a framework that NGCP developed for the Million Girls Moonshot initiative. And I think Marissa is putting the link in the chat if anyone's interested in checking that out further. And so the activities are designed for after school, out of school time programs in particular. They're very flexible and easily can be used in a formal classroom, but I think you'll see as we go through them, they were really developed with the after school learning environment and after school educator in mind. And one thing that we love about these activities that we think is kind of unique are the topics that they focus on. They're all topics that we know from research are important to help girls and young women engage in STEM and identify with STEM. But they're not topics that a lot of STEM activities focus on. There are a lot of really great high quality STEM activities out there. And we feel like these have a little bit of a different focus than some of them. So hopefully they'll be helpful to you all and to the after school community. Next slide, please. So for example, these are some of the topics that these activities really focus on. They aim to counter stereotypes of what STEM is and who does STEM. They showcase STEM career pathways that are varied and sometimes surprising. They highlight how STEM professionals are represented in the media, celebrate diversity in the engineering design process, and really overall just really work to help girls see themselves in STEM and know that STEM can be for them. So with that, I'm very happy to turn it over to Lisa, who will walk us through these new activities.
Thank you, Brenda. Hi, everyone. Really excited to share these activities with you. I want to start by saying a huge thank you to some folks who were instrumental in putting these together. They were not created in a vacuum. And some folks that are here co-leading this webinar, Jessica, Marissa, and Brenda, thank you for your input. As well as we had two outside experts, Sarah Kobilka and Rachel Kessler. I believe Sarah's on the webinar today. Wave if you're here, Sarah, and Rachel might be as well, to say hello, but we want to thank you so much for reviewing these activities, giving your input and feedback. They really helped to shape the activities to what they are today. So thank you. So I thought I'd start by just giving you a quick overview of the structure of these activities, and then we'll talk about each of the four, but we're going to do a slightly deeper dive into two of them to give you a little flavor of what the activity is, and so that you can experience a little bit of it to kind of start to really imagine how you might use this in your programming. But first, just this overview of the lessons. So this is an example. STEM Superpowers is one of the lessons. It's a two-pager. They're all pretty short, 2 to 3 pages long. They all are recommended for ages 11 to 15. So that's sort of tween teen age. Obviously, if you're working with younger students or older, you could modify or think about scaffolding them differently to apply to those ages, but they were really geared towards 11 to 15. They were set up to have some flexibility in the timing. We know when we think about after school programs, you know, sometimes you only have 30 minutes, sometimes you have 60 minutes. So, you know, that time can be really different depending on the program and your situation. And so it's all laid out with different times for different sections. Sometimes they have options of you can do this part or not do this part. So the idea is that there's some time flexibility. So hopefully you can use them no matter what your time restraints are. The other thing we really tried to keep in mind were the materials. We wanted to make sure that you didn't need sophisticated materials to do this. It's very low to no cost. Many of them might require some printing, but we have the handouts already in the activity for you to just download and print out and distribute. And if they do require supplies, they tend to be things like scissors, tape, paper, recycled materials, things that craft materials that you might have around. The one thing that I do want to note about materials is that they 3 of the 4 activities do require you to show a video. So we're trying to utilize the videos from the IFTHEN collection. So it is helpful to have you know, computer visual audio set up so that you can do that. One of the activities uses photos from the collection. So if you don't have the capability to show videos, there's still an activity in this grouping for you. You'll notice there's a prep section. So any of the materials or supplies, or if you need to be able to show video, we make sure we note that in the prep section so you can be ready to go. And then in the body of the activity itself, in addition to the steps, you'll find tips. So for example, in STEM Superpowers, one of the first tips is just recommended that you do this activity with a group that knows each other a little bit first, because you're going to start off with a group admiration. And so there are some tips in there, as well as you see those teal question marks on there. Those are reflection questions. So we always want to make sure that after doing the activity, there's time to reflect. So that's kind of an overview of the activities, and I'll talk quickly about STEM Superpowers and what happens here. In this activity, again, it starts with this group admiration where participants are able to share something that they admire in one of the other participants. And then they take some time to watch some videos of some of the STEM professionals featured here that gives them, you know, a sense of their STEM superpowers that's beyond their success in math and science in school. It goes beyond their grades. They talk about what aspects of their personality and their identity have really helped them to be who they are today and to be successful in their field. So students get a chance to watch these videos to think about what those STEM superpowers that these folks have, and then to turn that internally and think about their own STEM superpowers and what aspects of their personalities and identity are going to be helpful to them as they move forward on a STEM pathway. So that's a quick overview of STEM superpowers. Jessica, can we go to the next slide? The next activity is STEM journeys. And so you heard in the overview, we wanted to hit on career pathways too, and the sometimes non-linear career pathways, right, that many people take to get to where they are, and to show that it's okay if as a 13-year-old, you're thinking now that you want to be a pastry chef, which as indicated on this slide. That doesn't mean that a STEM career pathway is not for you, that many people take lots of different steps and twists and turns in their journey to get to where they are. So in this activity, we actually give you 6 different STEM professionals to choose from and link to their videos, as well as a whole collection of fun facts about each of them. And so there are fun facts that are all part of their STEM journey. And in the activity, the idea is that you would cut out these fun facts and distribute them out to your participants. There are posters in there, examples that you see here on this slide of those STEM professionals that you could put around the walls, and that your participants have to look at those fun facts and look at those people and posters and the little information about them and try to guess which fun facts go with which STEM professional. And then one by one, you watch a video and start to reveal the actual STEM journeys of these professionals and kind of see if your fun fact matching was right, and to talk about that, why you might have thought a fact would have been associated with a certain person, and what made you change your perception. So we're going to do a little sampling of this activity here. So I've got 2 of the STEM professionals that we feature in this activity. We've got Kyla on the left and Sierra on the right. Kyla, in case you can't read the text at the bottom that it says on her poster, she is a geology and materials science technician. Knowledge of rocks in Hawaii to transform them into construction materials for space exploration. So that's a little bit about Kyla. And Sierra, she was the first Black woman to get a nuclear engineering PhD from the University of Michigan. She currently works at Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab. So think about those 2 people and what you see in their descriptions, and look at those 4 fun facts and think for a minute which fun fact might go with which person. So take a minute, you can put your guesses in the chat. While you're thinking, I'll read the fun facts. One is that they originally wanted to be a pastry chef. One, and they feel like their background in art helps them with their job and to make something beautiful and durable. The third is after undergrad, she thought she would be a teacher and do Teach for America. And 4 is that they realized that no one goes into STEM knowing everything about it. So which fact do you think goes with which person? Show me a thumbs up if you have your guesses, or put a reaction on your screen if you're thumbs up so that I know that you're ready. See a couple thumbs ups. And some people have their guesses. Seeing a few more pop up. Okay, so now you've got your guesses. We are going to watch one of the videos and see which facts align with this individual. Jessica, do you want to cue up our video?
Hi, I'm Dr. Sierra Civils. I'm a nuclear engineer. I was the first Black woman to get a nuclear engineering PhD from the University of Michigan, and I currently work at Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab. So my favorite STEM subject in school was chemistry. I was really interested in things we can't see and how they interact. So that sparked my interest in nuclear engineering. So I don't do much chemistry work anymore. I focus more on an atomic level. So I started pretty late in the game. So I originally wanted to be a pastry chef. And it wasn't until my sophomore year of high school that I decided, or I was introduced to the idea of engineering, specifically in a chemistry class. And from there, my interest just grew, and I went to MIT and got introduced to nuclear engineering, and I went off from there. The first choice that I made along this path was to not be a pastry chef. So, I really was preparing for competitions and trying to get a scholarship, and being introduced to chemistry and to chemical engineering kind of shifted my path. And then trying to decide where I was going to go, I had never heard of MIT before, and so when my teacher introduced these different topics to me, that really changed my trajectory. And so from MIT, I thought, oh, I would be a teacher. I would do Teach for America. And again, I had someone kind of step in and say, you know, you haven't really given nuclear engineering and research a chance. Maybe you want to try grad school. And so that's what led me on the path of a PhD, because I wanted to combine my love of teaching and engineering and mentorship into academia. And from there, like I said, became the first Black woman to get that degree from Michigan. And so that really landed me on the trajectory I'm on today.
You're muted, Lisa.
Thank you. Okay, I saw some notes in the chat and some smiles as that video progressed, seeing if you got some of those answers right. So turns out that Sierra was the one that originally wanted to be a pastry chef, and she also thought that she would do Teach for America. We don't have enough time today to watch Kyla's video, but I encourage you to watch that video, and you will see that Kyla is the one with the background in art. And she had that realization that no one goes into STEM with knowing everything about it. But it gives you a little taste of the activity. So you reveal the video, you ask the participants to then look at their fun facts again, reorganize themselves based on what's remaining, watch another video, and keep repeating the process. So that's an idea of STEM journeys and looking at different career pathways. Next slide, please. The third activity is called Diverse Minds in Design. And this involves a bit of an engineering design activity. So we give a few prompts in here for some design challenges, such as design a way for the chicken to cross the road. But you can also look to your participants and what their interests are and come up with your own design challenge for this. The exact design challenge itself can be very flexible. You can use recycled materials for this. But the idea is that everyone's going to get together and go through the process of brainstorming and making a prototype of their idea with a group. And then they're going to switch groups. So everyone is going to move to a different group. You're going to work on the exact same design challenge and think then and reflect on how what you created was different when you had different people in the room talking about and brainstorming that same design challenge. A similar kind of spin-off of this, there's another optional activity where you kind of do a group brainstorm about a design challenge and then have people break up into groups and talk about then again how that diversity of thought influenced your choices in design. And you have some time to watch some videos of some amazing engineers who really think about that. They think about who's at the table when they are making their decisions and designing different products, and how diversity of ideas, diversity of thought and background really makes the best products. And so that's part of the reflection discussion for this activity. Next slide, Jessica. The final activity that we feature is called Representation Matters. And we are gonna take some time for this one to give you a little flavor of this activity as well. But this activity starts by thinking about a new movie that's coming out and what the lead character might look like, and then actually ask participants to first just kind of sketch their idea of what the lead character and the gender and race of the people that they drew and characteristics. And then we actually talk about some of the statistics of STEM professionals that are featured in the media and reveal to your participants what those are, and start thinking about the work that we need to do, right, to increase representation in the media. And so then that launches into creating your own real adventure movie plot. And so that's what we're going to ask all of you to engage in with us. And so again, we wanted to give you a little flavor of this activity. I know this maybe is a little different than what you might have experienced in other webinars where you're just listening, but we would love to have you participate in this section. NGCP has heard that in some of these webinars, people wanted a little more interactivity. And so this is our attempt at giving that a try. And so this will just take about 6-7 minutes, but we would really love your feedback on this section after the webinar. We are going to break out into breakout rooms to do this. You'll be in groups of about 6 people. So we'd love to have you participate in the discussion. If you would like to turn your camera on, would love that, but no pressure to do that. You can also just listen in on your group as well, but we'd love to have some participation. And then we'll come back, we'll share, and we'll continue on with the webinar. We'll tell you where to find these great activities and have that Q&A section. So, but what we're going to do is give you a little bit of time to think about. So you're going to imagine that you are a movie producer and you need to create a screenplay for a movie based on the real life adventures of an amazing STEM professional. So you're going to work with your group to think about and create a little plot for this new feature film using at least 4 of the photos that we're going to show you in a minute and the movie storyboard as a guide. Jessica, can you go to the next slide so we can give them a little preview? So we'll put a link to this, I believe, in the chat, and we'll also send the link to you in your breakout group so that you'll have these next 2 slides available to you. But this is your movie storyboard. So this is what's included in the activity for participants as well, which just gives you a very brief overview of the structure of a plot, having an introduction, the rising action, a climax, falling action, and resolution. If you don't have enough time to think through all parts of this plot, that's okay. Just give it a try and try putting a couple pieces together. But the idea is you think about these 5 parts of your story. And then Jessica, if you'll go to the next slide, you'll also be given this set of 6 different photos. Again, we'd like you to choose at least 4 of them to think about and put them in an order and kind of think of a story plot that you could come up with just using these photos as a reference of this amazing STEM professional and what they might be up to in this feature film that you're creating. Any questions on, oh, thank you, Marissa, for putting that activity instructions in the chat too. Say any questions on that. We're going to break into groups. You're going to think about these 6 photos and how you could organize them in an order that would create a little plot for a feature film featuring this new amazing STEM professional, because you're helping to change representation in the media. And then we'll come back together as a group and we'll have a time for a few people to share out. So we'll take about 6 minutes or so in the breakout rooms, and always you can ping us if you have a question as well. Marissa, I think we're ready to go to our breakout rooms. Welcome back. As people are rejoining. Welcome back, everyone. We have everyone back. Our main group. Thanks for bearing with us as we were figuring out the tech aspect of that. So would anyone like to share the amazing movie plot storyline that they came up with in their group, or even just an idea based on these photos? Maybe you could raise your hand, use the raise hand feature, or wave. I'd love to have 1 or 2 people share here.
Looks like Jen has raised her hand.
Oh, great. Jen, yes, thank you.
Yeah, so we spent most of the time in our group just trying to figure out what we thought was really going on in these photos. But at the end, I think it was really interesting. We kind of had two very different ideas. Because I threw out that this kind of, I was like getting this vibe along the lines of like Snow White running through the woods, but like the STEM version of Snow White running through the woods. And somebody else in the group mentioned that they had just recently watched Hunger Games. So that was what was resonating with them, like the STEM version of Hunger Games. And that's kind of where we ended off with two very different interpretations of these photos.
I love it. Yes. And I mean, it could be two totally different movies, right? They can be taken in very different ways. Thank you for sharing, Jen. Would anyone else, maybe one more person, like to share?
Well, I will.
Yes, Linda, go ahead.
Yeah, we just we had some very astute people in our group who happened to notice lots of things that I didn't even see. So we determined this happened over an extended period of time because of her clothing that she's wearing. And we determined she was setting up an antenna in that second picture where nobody could tell what that was, and that she finally got a call or a signal that whatever she was looking for had been detected, and she's running towards whatever. And there is the mama bear who has just given birth to two little babies, and she was able to rescue them. So we didn't go into Hunger Games or any of that stuff.
I love that. So you could either base it on a movie plot you already know, or just use your imagination and your observation skills. Look at the photos. I love that idea of noticing the different outfits, right? So you knew this had to happen in different time periods and piecing that together. So two different approaches. And I'm sure, when you do this activity with participants, there'll be many other approaches, right, to doing this as well. But the idea is, to use your imagination, right, and give it a chance for participants to be really creative and use their imaginations as well with these photos. Thank you both for sharing. I really appreciate that. So hopefully we gave you a nice little taste and flavor of some aspects of these 4 activities. And I'm going to turn it back over to Jessica, who's now going to tell you where you can find them.
I'm muted. That was my one time, right? For each webinar, everyone gets once where they're talking while they're muted. And afterwards we'll do some Q&A. So I'm going to show folks where to find these, and then we'll have some time for some Q&A in case you have questions about where to find them, how to access them, or about the activities, or about how they were created. So I do want to mention that these activities are all available on the IFTHEN Collection Million Girls Moonshot portal. And so this is just a screenshot of the website, and I'm going to show you the website and demo how to find it. And I believe Marissa is putting it in the chat as well. So I'm going to switch my screen share here pretty quick. Okay, so this is the Million Girls Moonshot IFTHEN Collection portal. So it's just ifthencollection.org/MGM. So that's pretty easy to remember. And this, like Brenda was talking about earlier with the equity and inclusion framework, this portal is tied to that equity and inclusion framework. And so as you're scrolling through and kind of diving into this and discovering what all it has to offer, you will see that we actually have 6 categories in here that are tied to that framework. You will also see that there is a link directly to the framework up here. There's a link to the National Girls Collaborative Project and the Million Girls Moonshot. If you're scrolling through and you're finding all of this great content in this portal and you think, I wonder what else is in the collection, you can also browse the entire full collection by clicking on Search the Full Collection here. So as you're scrolling through, you will see supporting positive youth development, presenting diverse STEM role models, highlighting the relevance of STEM, engaging in equitable curriculum, focusing on 21st century skills, and exploring STEM careers. And when you click on the view assets in any of these buckets, that's where it'll take you to all the assets that have been pulled together for that particular category. So it's kind of a curated collection of assets that relate to it. And you can see here that we have this, the STEM superpowers activity that we were just talking about earlier. So you can see that here, the whole entire activities here. I want to point something very good out for you to know. If you click this print icon, it'll pop up and you can save the PDF on your desktop. So you don't have to go through the full request access and all of that for these PDFs. It's nice and easy that way. If you want to share the link with somebody, you're like, wow, this is exactly what I want, and I want to share it with all my colleagues. There's a little share button down here for each asset. So you just click on that and you enter your email address. And once you've done this the first time, you won't have to enter it every single time in the portal. And then you want to say what use you're using this for, whether it's a museum, or maybe you're a partner of the IFTHEN work, you are at a library, education, informal or formal. You just choose that. And then you can open up this share link. And so you can copy and paste this link and you'll see the activity come up. This is the other way that you can download it. So if you're just doing a quick download of one activity, you could do it the way I just showed you, or you can click this download button and download the PDF as well. And so as you can see, the entire thing, the entire PDF pops up. So back to the collection, you click this X to pop out of it. And any of the videos that are associated with the activities will also be in the same category. So as you can see, there's the STEM superpowers videos are in here. We added some other assets that we think after school programs are going to be really excited about. And so we included some curiosity camp videos that are really fun and engaging for folks. There's some other profile videos in here. I'm going to go back to the portal website. So again, this takes me back to the main portal website. There's lots of engaging content in here. One thing I want to show you before we go to questions is this contact page. So if you want to download those videos, all you have to do is fill this out and you enter this access code, NGCP 2021. You just fill out your name, title, organization, email address, and then you just copy and paste the names of the assets. You can request as many as you want. You can add every single asset in there. Again, a reminder that for the PDFs, you don't have to do that. You can just download those directly. It does say that it takes about 7 business days, or takes up to 7 business days to turn around these requests. It's usually like 2 to 3, but it can take up to 5 to 7. If you have something and you're really trying to get it quickly because you have something coming up sooner, you can always reach out. So that is the MGM portal. It has so much great information. I really hope that you all will spend some time kind of perusing it and finding those great resources to support your STEM learning. So with that, I'm going to, again, switch my screen share real fast and go back to our slides here. And I do want to open it up and see if anyone does have any questions about either how to access the content, how to download it, or questions for Brenda or Lisa. Please feel free. You can raise your hands. You can come off mute and just join us in the conversation, or you can add them in the chat box.
Jessica, there is a question about sharing the access code. Is that something that they can share with their networks?
Yes, Caitlin, I see that. Yes, you can share that specific access code, the NGCP 2021. I will say that the access codes are just for kind of tracking on the back end for us, and to make sure that the people that are requesting them are going to use them for educational, non-commercial uses. So yes, please feel free to share that. Usually when we go to conferences or things like that, we have a different access code for conferences so we can track our outreach efforts as well. So this is great, absolutely. And feel free to, like I said, pop a question in the chat, or come off mute or raise your hand, whatever works for you. Lisa and Brenda, I was kind of wondering, I know you touched on what you kind of had in mind when you were creating these activities, but I'm curious if you thought or noticed any simple adaptations somebody might be able to make to any of the activities if they were I know you mentioned they could do it for younger students, but if they were working with younger students, is there anything kind of simple that somebody could think about for adapting an activity?
That's a great question. I think, the adaptations obviously depend on if you're working with younger participants or older participants, but if it might be a simple adaptation of some of the materials, I could think about diverse minds in design. And if you're doing that with young children, you might want to just think about having tape already pre-ripped, right, for them, or things like that, right? That is just going to make that piece a little bit easier. I think the other thing for younger children to think about is just some of the reflection questions. So, those questions were really geared towards more a teen audience, and you might need to think about adapting some of those reflection questions for younger and older. I think if you're doing it with more high school, you might want some more sophisticated reflection questions, maybe than what's in there. So those, I would say, more materials and that kind of reflection piece would be two areas to think about adapting.
Yeah, I agree. And I was just going to add that all of the if-then assets are perfectly appropriate for all ages. So the videos, obviously the photos, but there's nothing about the videos that makes them, only appropriate for tweens and teens. So that's
I think you make a great point, both Brenda and Lisa. It really depends on the questions, the discussion questions that you're asking. That's how you can really tailor these videos to different age groups. And I will say, if you are working with younger youth, so maybe under the ages of 11, there are some resources in there from the Camp Goldie Blocks. And so there are Camp Goldie Blocks activity sheets and things that are in there that skew a little bit younger. So those might be a good option as well. And with that, I don't see any other questions coming in. And if you do have them, you can always reach out to us afterwards and connect. So as you can see, my email address is on here. So if you have a question and you need to connect and ask me away via email, there's the access code again. And then those are the kind of main websites as well at the top. So feel free to connect with me if you have any questions after this. And with that, I'm gonna pass it back to Marissa to close us out.
Thank you, Jessica. And actually, we had one quick question come through the chat. Someone is asking, who was the woman in the photos that they were using to do that media representation matters activity?
She's one of my favorites. She's Dr. Raywyn Grant, and she's a conservation biologist and works with National Geographic. And if you follow her on social media, you'll see that she's been featured in some different documentaries and different events recently. So Dr. Raywyn Grant, and I absolutely love her. You can find her in the collection, and you can find her bio in there so that you can connect with her as well. She's wonderful. Also, the picture of a baby bear yawning is just about the cutest thing I've ever seen.
Thank you. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. And thank you to our great speakers, Brenda and Lisa, and for all the folks who worked together to help create these activities and share them with all of you in our network. As we close out, we'd like to let you know about a few upcoming webinars. We have another webinar featuring the IFTHEN Collection on November 8th, which will focus on strategies from the field. So you'll get to hear from some folks working in museums who have used these great resources via the IFTHEN Collection in lots of different ways in their spaces. We also have a terrific webinar happening tomorrow at 1 p.m. Pacific And that is addressing STEM stereotypes and biases, facilitating challenging conversations with youth. Sign up is still open, so register on our website if you'd like to join us. And on October 5th, we will be joined by the folks from Tecnolochicas, talking about transforming the T, or technology, in STEM. So we hope to see you again for some future events and webinars with NGCP. I'm also putting a link to our survey there in the chat. And this is where you can just let us know how this webinar went for you. As Lisa mentioned earlier, we'd love to hear about specifically that breakout room activity and the interactivity we built into this webinar. How is it working for you? Did you enjoy it? Would you suggest something different? These just help us make sure that the webinars we're bringing to all of you are successful, are relevant and interesting and engaging for you. So thank you, everyone, and we hope to see you again soon.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone.
everyone.
Yes.